Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It was late afternoon in our sunlit kitchen, the smell of fresh coffee still lingering in the air, when it all cracked open. I was leaning against the island, arms folded, watching Haley dig through the laundry basket like she was looking for buried treasure. Then she held it up. That skirt. It wasn't just short. It was the kind of flashy red that screamed for attention, tight at the hips and daring at the hem. She spun around with a smug grin and said, "This. I'm wearing this to Lily's party tonight." I blinked. "That's what you're wearing?" She didn't skip a beat. "Yeah. Why?" "I don't think it's the right vibe for Lily's party," I said slowly, trying to stay calm. "It's loud." She raised an eyebrow. "Loud? You mean it makes you uncomfortable?" "It's not about me being uncomfortable, Haley. It's just, look, it's not even about the skirt itself. It's about respect. You're my wife. And you know how people talk." "Oh, so now I'm embarrassing you." "No, I'm saying there's a line between dressing up and looking like." "Like what, Marcus? Go ahead. Say it." "I didn't say anything. I'm just asking you to consider something more appropriate." She folded her arms and tilted her head. "You mean something less me." "That's not what I said." "No, but it's exactly what you meant." She tossed the skirt on the counter like it offended her. "You don't want me to feel pretty. That's the real issue." I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. "Haley, come on. That's not fair." "You know what's not fair?" Her voice was rising now. "You, always trying to tame me. You picked me because I had spark, remember? And now you want to dim it because it threatens your idea of what a wife should look like." "That's not true," she cut me off. "Then what do you want me to wear, huh? A potato sack? Maybe something beige and safe, so I won't steal the spotlight from your precious image? I want you to look good without feeling like you're putting on a show for someone else." "Well, maybe I want to feel seen. For once. Maybe I'm tired of fading into the wallpaper at your side." The silence hit hard, and for a second, I had no words. Just the sound of the fridge humming, the clock ticking behind her shoulder, and the ache in my chest. I took a breath. "You're not wearing that skirt tonight. End of story." "Oh, so now you're forbidding it? Like I'm a teenager sneaking out to a party?" I didn't back down. I said what I said. She laughed, but it was sharp, hollow, unbelievable. She turned and stormed upstairs, the skirt still lying on the granite. I stared at it for a moment, my fists clenched at my sides, heart pounding harder than it should have. That wasn't just a fight about a piece of fabric. That was something deeper, uglier, slithering up between us. That morning, my life had still looked normal on paper. 39, working in project management, house in Austin suburbs, married 8 years, no kids but plenty of maybe someday conversations. We had a 2-story colonial with white shutters and a fenced-in yard. I mowed the lawn on Sundays. She taught yoga classes at a local studio and posted inspirational quotes that no longer seemed aimed at me. And yet here we were, 2 people in a sleek kitchen, surrounded by matching stainless steel appliances and marble countertops, unable to speak the same language anymore. She went upstairs. I stayed behind, and the distance between us grew another mile longer. That evening, Lily's house looked like a spread from some lifestyle magazine. Elegant string lights draped over a cedar pergola, smooth jazz trickling through hidden speakers, and glasses of Pinot clinking like wind chimes. But I couldn't focus on any of it, because Haley wore the skirt. And not just wore it, owned it. She strutted in like a woman with nothing to lose and too much to prove. We were barely 5 steps inside when Lily greeted us, warm as always. "There you two are. Marcus, you clean up nice. Haley, wow." Her eyes drifted down, lingering on the skirt. Haley grinned. I felt like being bold tonight. I didn't say a word, just smiled stiffly and reached for a drink. People milled around with cocktails and laughter. Haley was magnetic, drifting from group to group, smiling wide, tossing back her head at every compliment. I tried to keep my distance, chatting with a co-worker of Lily's near the fireplace. But my attention kept snapping back to Haley. The way her hand brushed a little too long on someone's arm. The way her voice carried across the room. Then, like she'd timed it perfectly, she swooped into the center of the conversation I was in, slid her hand onto my shoulder, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You know. Actually, my ex was more skilled." I froze. The group around us didn't know how to react. Nervous chuckles bubbled up, unsure if it was a joke or a bomb. I turned slowly, caught her expression. Smiling. Proud. like she'd just pulled off a clever prank. "Excuse me," I asked, my voice tighter than I wanted. She waved it off casually. "Relax. I'm just saying. Some men know what they're doing without being told." Lily's eyes went wide. "Haley, oh, come on." Haley laughed, looking around. "Don't act so shocked. We're all adults here, right?" The laughter that followed wasn't joyful. It was sharp, uncomfortable. People started exchanging glances, stepping away like they didn't want to be caught in the fallout. I opened my mouth, ready to respond, but Lily jumped in first. She reached out, took my hand in both of hers, and grinned playfully. "Maybe I should test that theory myself. Let me try your husband's skills." The room went silent. Even the jazz felt like it stopped. Haley blinked, just once, and her whole face changed. Her jaw clenched, the smile faltered. She let go of my shoulder like it burned her. "You're hilarious," she said flatly to Lily. Lily raised her glass with a sly smirk. "Just playing along." I didn't move. I felt like I'd been carved out and left hollow. My hand still in Lily's. Haley's stare burning a hole straight through it. Someone coughed awkwardly. A man from the office muttered, "I think I'm gonna go check the grill." People scattered. Haley turned to me, eyes glinting with a mix of rage and humiliation. "Enjoying yourself?" "You started it," I said quietly. She blinked, incredulous. Unbelievable. Then she stormed off, heels clacking against the wood floors, disappearing into the kitchen with a flourish of red fabric. I stood there, stuck. Everyone avoided eye contact. Lily gave a wink and walked off too, leaving me in the middle of the living room, surrounded by fading conversations and uneaten appetizers. And in that moment, I realized something had shifted. Not just the fight, not just the night, but something deep between us, subtle, silent, and irreversible. We got home in silence. Not the kind that hangs gently between people. This one pressed against my chest like wet concrete. The minute I closed the front door, I heard her heels come off. One thud, then another. And then, "You humiliated me tonight." I turned around slowly. Haley stood barefoot at the edge of the hallway, her arms crossed, skirt still hugging her like armor she refused to shed. I stared at her, stunned. "You're saying I humiliated you?" "Yes." Her voice cracked with disbelief, like the answer was obvious. "You stood there and let her put her hands on you like some cheap party trick. You didn't even flinch." "Haley, you made that joke. In front of everyone." She stepped closer, jaw clenched. "It was a joke. But when Lily crossed the line, you just stood there. You didn't push her hand away. You didn't even say anything." "Because I was too busy being blindsided." I shot back. "You humiliated me first." "Excuse me? My ex was more skilled? You really thought that was funny?" She looked away for a moment, then scoffed. "Please. Like anyone took it seriously." "They didn't have to take it seriously," I said. "It was about how it made me feel. And it wasn't a joke. It was a jab. A mean, calculated jab meant to embarrass me." She stepped past me into the living room, tossing her bag onto the couch. "This is exactly what I mean. You only care how you feel. You don't think for a second how I looked in that room. You were the center of attention, Haley. You wore that skirt like a billboard and threw a grenade into the middle of the party." Her head snapped toward me. "Oh, so now I'm just desperate for attention?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to," she snapped. "You've been judging me since the minute I pulled it out of the drawer. Because I knew exactly where it was going." She stared at me, something brittle cracking behind her eyes. "You're not hearing me, Marcus." I exhaled hard and sat on the edge of the armrest. "I'm trying, Haley. I'm really trying. But I don't get it. What did you want me to do? Slap Lily's hand away? Start a fight in front of your friends?" "I wanted you to say something. Just one sentence. One gesture that said, 'Hey, that's not okay. That's my wife.' But you stood there like a statue, like I wasn't even in the room." I shook my head, rubbing the back of my neck. And I stood there thinking, is this the moment I stop recognizing the person I married? Silence. She blinked. Her face went still. The heat drained from the room. She grabbed a throw blanket off the back of the couch and clutched it to her chest like it might shield her from what I just said. "I didn't expect you to hate me for being myself," she whispered. I looked up, exhausted. "I don't hate you." She didn't respond. Just walked slowly past me, blanket trailing like a shadow. Up the stairs, without a glance back. I stayed downstairs, staring into nothing. The hum of the fridge filled the quiet. A candle flickered on the side table. I didn't know who was right, or if there even was a right. All I knew was that tonight, the distance between us wasn't just emotional. It was measured in silence. And it stretched room to room, word to word, until it finally settled deep into the cracks neither of us knew how to fill. A week passed, thick with silence. Not a single real conversation, just the occasional clink of coffee cups, a closed door upstairs, the barely audible creak of floorboards when one of us walked past the other. Haley didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She just shut down, like someone pulled the plug on her voice. She still moved through the house, made tea in the morning, checked her phone at night. But she didn't look at me. Not once. Morning, I'd say when I passed her at the kitchen sink. She'd nod. That's it. I tried to tell myself it would blow over. We'd had fights before, but this one felt different, like something got knocked loose, and we didn't know how to put it back. Tuesday night, I came home with her favorite takeout, lemongrass chicken, and that weird cucumber soda she liked. I even remembered extra sauce, just how she used to remind me. I set the bag down in front of her, where she sat scrolling through her tablet. I brought your usual, I said, trying to sound light. She didn't look up. I already ate. A pause. I stood there with 2 boxes cooling fast. Okay, I said softly, and took my food into the other room. She wasn't angry, not exactly. She was absent, like a shadow of herself was going through the motions. That Friday, I tried again. She was in the backyard, walking slow laps by the fence like she was lost in thought. I walked out, 2 steaming mugs in hand. She didn't even glance over when I joined her. I figured you might want coffee, I offered. She took the cup, murmured, thanks, and kept walking. You want to sit a minute? I asked. No. I followed a few paces behind, quiet. The air smelled like cut grass and the last cling of summer. You used to like this time of day, I said. Remember? You'd make me sit here until the sun dipped behind the neighbor's roof. You said the light made everything look softer. She didn't answer. Just took another sip, eyes on the horizon like I wasn't even there. I stared at her, wondering what was going on behind those unreadable eyes. Finally, I said, Haley, are you okay? She stopped, looked at me for the first time in days, but there was no warmth in it. I'm fine. Then she turned and walked back into the house. And I stood there in the fading sunlight, holding a mug that had suddenly gone cold in my hand. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on my side, facing her in the dark, even though she had her back to me. Haley, I whispered, we can't keep doing this. She didn't move. I waited. Minutes passed. Hours, maybe. But all I got was silence. And in that silence, something heavy started to settle in my chest. It wasn't just about the fight anymore. Not just about a skirt or a party. This was deeper. Like she was slipping somewhere I couldn't reach. And for the first time, I was scared she wasn't coming back. Friday night, I made steak. Nothing fancy, just how she liked it. Garlic butter on top, mashed potatoes on the side, salad with lemon vinaigrette. I even lit the candles we hadn't touched in months. Set 2 plates. Poured the wine. She came down the stairs just as I was setting the forks. Dinner's ready. I said, careful, neutral. She didn't respond, just walked over, sat down, and started eating. Halfway through the meal, I couldn't take the silence anymore. It was louder than shouting, heavier than any insult. I set my fork down gently. Haley. She didn't look up. We're going to talk. Still chewing. I'm serious, I said. This ends tonight. Either we talk, or you pack a bag. That got her attention. Her eyes snapped up, hard and glassy. You're giving me an ultimatum? I'm giving us a chance. Because whatever this is, it's not working. I don't even know who I'm married to anymore. She let out a short, sharp laugh. Wow, that's rich. Haley, no, don't Haley me. You think just because you cooked a meal and lit a couple candles, suddenly you're the wounded husband making grand speeches? I sat back, jaw clenched. I'm trying. You're trying now, she snapped. Where was this effort last month? Last year? When I needed more than how was your day? While you scrolled through your emails. You never said anything. I shouldn't have to. Her voice shot across the table like a gunshot. I flinched. The wine glass trembled in place. I wore that skirt because I needed to feel something. Anything. Like I still had a pulse. Like someone might still look at me and see me. You think I don't see you? I asked, stunned. She stood up, trembling, pointing a finger at me. No, Marcus. You see your wife, your home partner, the woman who picks up dry cleaning and makes sure the guest towels are folded. You don't see me. Not the person underneath. Not anymore. I never stopped. You stopped listening. You stopped asking questions. You stopped looking at me. She took a breath, chest rising and falling like she'd run a mile. You want to talk now? You want to draw some line in the sand and act like you're the one hurting? Her voice cracked. I've been screaming for help in every way I knew how, and you just stood there, holding your coffee mug and pretending we were fine. Silence. I swallowed hard. Then say it. Say what you want. Do you want to stay? Do you want to fight for this? Her chin trembled, but her eyes didn't soften. I want to not feel invisible, she said. Then she turned, marched up the stairs, and slammed the bedroom door so hard the walls shook. I sat there, staring at the flickering candles, the half-eaten food, the red wine bleeding down the side of her untouched glass. That night, I lay on the living room couch, staring at the ceiling, blanket pulled up to my chest. The house was silent again, but not the kind that invites peace. It was the kind that rings like a warning bell. Something had cracked. Something had broken. And for the first time, I wasn't sure we'd be able to put it back together. The downtown wine bar had this warm, dim glow, wood-paneled walls, brick archways, the soft clink of silverware, and whispered conversations wrapping the place like a velvet curtain. We hadn't spoken the whole drive over. Haley had curled her hair, slipped into a navy blue dress that dipped lower in the back than she normally wore. She looked incredible, but the space between us and the car felt miles wide. Inside, Lily's birthday table was already buzzing. 10 seats filled with old friends, a few new faces, and a bottle of red at the center that hadn't stopped pouring. Marcus, you made it. Lily beamed, pulling me into a light side hug. Glad you didn't let her drag you home early. I forced a polite smile. Wouldn't miss it. Haley sat 2 seats down from me, beside a girl from Lily's work. She wasn't looking my way, but I could feel the tension vibrating off her like static. The first half of dinner was smooth. Laughter, wine, stories about college days, and botched vacations. I stayed mostly quiet, nursing my drink, replying when asked. But something was simmering in Haley. I saw it in the way her knee bounced, the way she kept glancing toward Lily, then toward me, then back again. Then came the toast. Lily stood up, glass raised. To old friends, good wine, and the nights we won't remember. Everyone laughed and clinked glasses. I took a sip, looked over, and saw Haley staring daggers. Then she stood. No glass. No smile. She cleared her throat. Actually, while we're all being honest, maybe we should toast to boundaries. The table stilled. Conversations dropped. Lily blinked. What? Haley's voice was ice. You know what I mean. Maybe next time, you keep your hands off my husband. Lily laughed nervously, glancing around. Wait, Haley, are you serious? Dead serious, Haley snapped. You think I didn't notice? The flirting, the touching, the little jokes? Haley, I leaned forward, voice low. Not here. No, Marcus. Exactly here, she said, turning toward me. You didn't seem to mind it when she grabbed your hand at the party. Lily stood, palms raised. Okay, that was a joke. We were all joking. Oh, right. Because joking about trying out my husband's skills is just hilarious. Gasps around the table. Forks frozen midair. Lily's smile vanished. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Haley's voice cracked. I was standing right there. And you touched him like I wasn't even breathing. It was 1 second, Haley, Lily said, her tone sharpening. I grabbed his hand. That's it. I didn't kiss him. I didn't take him home. It was a joke. Haley laughed bitterly. No, it wasn't. You've been crossing lines for months. And Marcus, she turned to me, voice rising. You just let her. You stood there and let her humiliate me. I stood too, holding up both hands. Haley, stop. You're making a scene. Oh, so now I'm the problem, she said, stepping back. Of course. Because I didn't laugh at the right moment. Because I didn't flirt back. Because I had the nerve to feel something. Lily's friend whispered something to the guy beside her. Chairs scraped as people started shifting, preparing for escape. Let's go, I said, reaching for Haley's arm. Let's talk outside. She yanked away. Don't touch me. Lily's voice was quiet now. Haley, I never meant to hurt you. Haley's eyes welled, but she didn't cry. Yeah, you never mean it. That's the problem. And just like that, she turned, storming out through the arched doorway, heels echoing against the hardwood like punctuation marks. The table sat in stunned silence. I stared at the door, heat creeping up my neck. Then I turned back to the table, cleared my throat. I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened here. Lily gave me a long, unreadable look. "It's fine," she said, but the chill in her voice told me it wasn't. I left money on the table, mumbled another apology, and followed Haley out into the night. She was already halfway down the block, arms crossed, dress whipping in the wind. I jogged to catch up. "You can't do that." She didn't slow. I had to. She crossed a line. "You blew up her birthday." She made me feel invisible. "I told you I didn't do anything with Lily." She stopped suddenly, spinning toward me. "This isn't about what you did. It's about what you didn't do." Then she turned again and kept walking. And I just stood there on the sidewalk, watching her disappear into the dark like someone I no longer recognized. While we're here, please press like and let me know you're with me. It was supposed to be a quiet Saturday night. A holiday potluck. Low stakes. Familiar faces. Ethan hosted it every year. Casual, warm, just a handful of us from college and a few neighbors. His place was small, but it always smelled like cinnamon and cloves in December. The kind of place that felt like a pause button on the rest of life. Haley had been unusually upbeat that afternoon, humming while she did her hair, even offered to bring her famous cranberry walnut tart. I took that as a sign maybe we were turning a corner. Foolishly, we walked into Ethan's place just after 7. He greeted us at the door, wearing one of his ugly Christmas sweaters, this one with a reindeer wearing sunglasses, and handed me a beer like no time had passed between us. "You good?" he asked under his breath. I nodded, unsure if I meant it. The kitchen buzzed with laughter, paper plates being stacked, drinks poured. Haley slipped easily into her social self, chatting with neighbors and teasing some of the younger guys about their cooking skills. I watched her move, saw glimpses of the woman I'd fallen for. The charm, the quick wit, the brightness. And then everything went sideways. It happened in the middle of the living room, right as people were settling in with plates. Ethan was recounting something, some story from work, about a client messing up a delivery, when Haley cut in, loud enough to command the whole room. "You know what the real mystery is?" she said, lifting her glass. "How a guy like Ethan is still single at 35. I mean, what's the actual deal?" The room froze. Ethan blinked. Everyone else stopped chewing. Even Haley's smile faltered for a second, like she'd expected laughter that never came. Then she added, "I mean, it's been what, 2 years since." "Haley," I said sharply. "Too late." She paused, registering the weight of what she'd just said. Ethan's face didn't change, not much. Just a tightening at the jaw, a flicker in the eyes. But for me, it felt like the air had gone out of the room. Because 2 years ago, Ethan lost his wife. To cancer. Quiet and cruel. And he hadn't talked about it since. People started shifting in their seats. Someone coughed. Haley looked around, suddenly unsure of herself. I didn't mean that how it sounded," she said, her voice thinning. But the damage was already done. Ethan gave a small, tight smile and stood up. "Gonna grab some more wine." He walked out of the room, not looking back. I stood. "Haley, outside. Now." She followed me out onto the porch, arms wrapped around herself. "What the hell was that?" I asked. "It was a joke," she snapped, but the defensiveness was already unraveling. "I didn't mean, God, I wasn't thinking." "No, you weren't. You were trying to be clever. You humiliated him." "I didn't, Marcus, I'm sorry. I didn't think it would hit like that. He buried his wife less than 2 years ago, and you used it as a punchline." She looked away, swallowing hard. I stared at her, my voice low. "Go home." "What? You need to leave. Right now." Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Yes." She hesitated, lips parting like she might argue. But then something in my face must have stopped her. She stepped back, nodded stiffly, and walked down the steps. I watched her disappear into the cold, then turned back toward the house, heart pounding in my chest. And when I stepped back inside, I didn't go looking for her. I went straight to Ethan. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Front porch light off. No movement in the windows. But the minute I stepped inside, I knew she was still there. That scent. Her perfume, light, floral, faintly sweet, still hung in the hallway like a memory refusing to leave. I closed the door behind me quietly, slid off my coat, and let the silence wrap around me. I didn't call her name. I didn't ask where she was. I already knew. She was upstairs, hiding again. Avoidance had become her favorite escape route. Say something cruel, disappear. Wait long enough, and maybe it fades. But this time it didn't. I climbed the stairs slowly, each creak echoing through the house like a countdown. When I reached the bedroom door, it was shut, of course. I knocked once. No answer. "Haley," I said, calm but firm. "Open the door." Silence. I gripped the handle and found it locked. "I'm not doing this again," I said. "Either you open this door, or I do." Still nothing. I took a step back and breathed in deep, grounding myself. The door, the bed, the walls, they weren't the problem. It was the pattern. This endless loop of her throwing matches and then hiding from the flames. My voice was steadier now. "Pack your things." I heard a shuffle inside. Then her voice, muffled but sharp. "You don't mean that." "I do." Another pause. Then the door unlocked with a soft click, and she opened it halfway. Her hair was pulled back, face bare, eyes red but dry. "Marcus," she began, voice small. "No," I cut in. "Don't explain. Don't soften it. What you did tonight, what you've been doing for weeks, it's not just anger. It's damage. You're hurting people, Haley. Me. Ethan. Yourself." She leaned against the doorframe, suddenly looking exhausted. "I don't know what's wrong with me." "I do," I said. "You're lost. And instead of reaching out, you've been lashing out. Dressing it up as jokes, sarcasm, confidence. But it's cruelty. Plain and simple." She lowered her gaze. "You're really kicking me out." "I'm asking you to leave," I said. "Because if you stay, I will start to resent you. And I don't want to hate you, Haley. I really, really don't." For a moment, she didn't move. I thought she might argue, might scream, might do something explosive just to shift the blame again. But she didn't. She walked back into the room, pulled a small suitcase from the closet, and started folding clothes. Her hands trembled. Her breaths came shallow. But she didn't speak, and I didn't help. I stood in the hallway, watching her pack away the version of herself I used to know, button by button, sleeve by sleeve. 15 minutes later, she zipped it shut and stood in front of me. "I'll stay at Lily's," she said softly, not meeting my eyes. I nodded once. At the front door, she paused, glanced back. "Do you hate me?" "No," I said, "but I'm done chasing someone who doesn't want to be caught." She opened the door. Cold air slipped inside, and then she was gone. I closed it behind her gently, and in the silence that followed, for the first time in weeks, I breathed. Not relief, not triumph, just peace. Heavy, real, earned. New Year's Eve came with crisp air and the scent of fresh logs burning in the fireplace. I hadn't planned on hosting anything, but Ethan showed up 2 days prior with a bottle of bourbon and said, "You're not ringing in the new year alone. Not happening." So we made it small. Just 6 of us. Ethan, Lily, 2 neighbors from down the street, and an old co-worker of mine who brought pie instead of champagne. It felt right. Simple. No expectations. I lit the fire early, strung a few warm lights along the mantel. We played vinyl, sipped mulled wine, laughed about nothing in particular. It had been a long time since my house sounded like that, like people were living in it again. At one point, I found myself laughing so hard at Ethan's impersonation of his old boss that I had to set my glass down. And I remember thinking, this is what it's supposed to feel like. Not perfect, not polished, just light. Lily wandered over with her phone and said, "Let's take a picture. You'll want to remember this night." We gathered near the fireplace. Ethan threw his arm around me. Lily leaned in. The camera clicked, and I smiled. A real one, not the kind I used to wear out of obligation. Then, just after midnight, right after the fireworks popped over the rooftops and we toasted with whatever was left in our glasses, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced at it. Unknown number. Local area code. I answered with a guarded, "Hello?" A shaky voice replied, "It's me." I stepped out onto the porch. There she was. Haley stood on the lawn, arms wrapped around herself, hair slightly damp from the mist in the air. No makeup, no dramatics, just her. Small, quiet. "Can I come in for a minute?" she asked. I didn't speak right away. She added, "I'm not here to cause a scene. I just didn't know where else to go tonight." I exhaled, long and slow, then nodded. She followed me up the steps, and I opened the door without a word. The laughter inside quieted a bit when she stepped in, but no one said anything. Just a glance, a silence, a held breath. She looked around the room like she barely recognized it. Ethan raised his glass slightly in acknowledgement. Lily gave her a polite nod, then turned back to her seat. Haley didn't say anything, just stood in the warm living room, shoulders tense, hands trembling slightly as she pulled off her gloves. "Want some cider?" I asked. She nodded. I poured her a mug and handed it to her. Her fingers brushed mine. Cold. She didn't try to explain. Didn't interrupt the conversations. Just sat quietly on the edge of the armchair near the fire, sipping in small, slow sips. I watched her from across the room. Not with judgment, not even curiosity. Just wonder. Because for the first time in a long time, she looked like someone who had stopped running. And the room, somehow, didn't feel smaller with her in it. It just felt paused. A chapter waiting to be finished. Morning arrived slowly. Golden light spilled through the living room windows, brushing the hardwood floor and warming the edges of the coffee table, where half-finished mugs and party napkins still lingered. The fire had gone out hours ago, leaving only the faint scent of ash and citrus behind. I was already awake, sitting at the kitchen counter with a mug in hand, when I heard soft footsteps behind me. Haley. She looked like she hadn't slept, wrapped in the same cardigan she wore last night, sleeves pulled over her hands. She offered a small, silent nod as she poured herself some water and stood by the sink for a moment, just staring out at the backyard. The others began to stir soon after. Ethan was the first to walk in, rubbing his eyes and greeting me with a half-smile. Lily followed, still wearing one of the spare guest blankets like a cape. Our neighbors wandered down, stretching, yawning, offering sleepy Happy New Year wishes. The living room slowly filled with murmurs, the gentle rustle of blankets being folded and clinking mugs being refilled. And then Haley stepped into the middle of the room. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't clear her throat. She just began. "I owe you all an apology," she said softly. Conversation stopped. Ethan looked up from his coffee. Lily blinked, mid-sip. The room fell still. Haley took a breath. Her voice wavered, but she kept going. "I haven't been myself for a long time. And I know I've said things that hurt people I care about. Things I can't take back." She turned to Ethan first. "I crossed a line with you," she said, eyes welling. "When I said at your place, that wasn't a joke. It was cruel. And I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. Not after everything you've been through." Ethan held her gaze for a moment, then gave a slow nod. "Thanks," he said simply. Then she turned to Lily. "I accused you of things that weren't fair. I let my jealousy turn into something toxic. That hand thing. I know now you were trying to diffuse tension, and I took it the wrong way. I'm sorry, Lily. Truly." Lily didn't speak right away, but after a beat, she gave the smallest nod. "All right," she said, not coldly, just carefully. Haley nodded, eyes shining now. "I don't expect forgiveness, not today. I just needed to say it. Out loud. In front of everyone. Because silence let me get away with too much. And I can't keep hiding behind it." She didn't cry. Not fully. But her voice cracked on the last word, and she turned quickly, walking toward the window with her arms crossed tight against her chest. Nobody clapped. Nobody forced a response. But the quiet in the room had changed. It wasn't tense anymore. It was understanding. Maybe even grace. Lily stood first, heading to the kitchen. Ethan followed. Conversations began again. Soft, normal, like the room had exhaled. Haley stayed by the window. And for the first time in a long time, she looked still. Not stuck. Not fuming. Just still. By early afternoon, the house was quiet again. Ethan had hugged me at the door. Lily offered a soft smile as she left with her dish in hand. The neighbors waved from their car. One by one, they trickled out, leaving behind a few empty glasses, a blanket tossed over the couch, and the gentle hum of silence. I started tidying up, stacking plates, tossing napkins. Haley was sitting on the floor by the fireplace, legs crossed, gaze fixed on the dying embers like they were telling her something only she could hear. When I passed by with a tray of glasses, she finally spoke. "Can we talk?" I set the tray down, sat on the edge of the coffee table across from her. She didn't look at me at first, just picked at the sleeve of her sweater, then said quietly, "I wore that skirt because I wanted someone to notice me." Her voice was flat, not defensive, not dramatic, just honest. "I didn't feel beautiful anymore," she continued. "Not to you, not to myself. And instead of saying it, I acted out. Loud. Reckless. I thought if I caused a scene, maybe someone would finally ask me what was wrong." I let the words settle, then asked, "Why didn't you just tell me?" She looked up, eyes red but open. "Because I was afraid you'd say nothing was. And that would have hurt more than anything." I nodded, slowly. I stopped asking. I stopped listening. I thought we were just in a rough patch. But I wasn't really looking at you either. She moved closer, knees almost touching mine. I want to be better, she said, voice low. Not just for you. For me too. I reached out, gently took her hand. So do I. But we have to actually talk. No more sarcasm. No more silence. She nodded. We sat there for a long moment, our hands still linked. Two people finally finding a stillness not born of distance, but of understanding. Not perfect, not fixed, but maybe, finally real. That was the end of my story. I've been thinking about what Ethan did that night. How he accepted Haley's apology with just a nod. No lecture, no bitterness. That kind of grace, it stuck with me. If someone hurt you in public the way Haley hurt him, would you have been able to let it go like he did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. And if this story meant something to you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.